it's your buddy Fractured Logic. So, we've had another shooting in Florida. And of course, the first thing that happens is every celebrity and every Democrat and every crazy liberal and every Joe Schmo who lives in a country that's banned guns is calling for a gun ban in the United States. Now, I'm going to preface this with the fact that I am a veteran. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in people's rights to protect themselves. I'm also not a large fan of guns. I'm not a big fan. I don't like guns. However, if someone breaks into my house, I will shoot them. Because they're threatening my family simply by entering my house illegally. Now, granted, that's not the same as these school shootings. You know, Sandy Hook and the Las Vegas shooter and things like that. It's not the same. However, if I didn't have a gun and somebody who has a gun breaks into my house, I'm dead. I'm dead. Because they're going to use it. Criminals don't give a crap about gun bans. There are so many illegal guns in the United States. It's ridiculous. And there will continue to be illegal guns in the United States, regardless of any legislation that gets passed. So no, we should not take away people's legal right to own guns. However, Mr. Cruz, the young man that shot up the kids in Florida, should have been probably on some kind of mental health treatment. You know, he lost his mother and then moved in with a family. You can't tell me they didn't notice anything weird. I mean, yeah, they told him to lock up his gun when he bought it, and they were okay with it being in the house. But there had to have been something, some indication, aside from the YouTube comment, which I will get to that in a minute. There had to have been some indication that he was not necessarily mentally stable. Not necessarily that he was going to be a shooter, but there had to have been some kind of indication that he was not there all the way. You know, you lose your mom at a young age, it's going to affect you. Now, I haven't looked up this kid's life story. I don't know where his father is in this whole situation. Maybe if he had a father in his life, you know, it would have prevented him from going off the deep end and killing people. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, he had problems, and no one noticed. Now, as far as gun purchasing reform, I understand. I understand the whole waiting period. I agree with that. I understand the background check. I'm all for that. But perhaps we need to do some kind of mental evaluation before you're actually allowed to get your license to own a firearm. Regardless of what kind of firearm it is. It doesn't matter if it's an AR-15, which is just a rifle. There are billions and billions of freaking rifles. They can be classified as AR-15. They're not assault rifles. Assault rifles don't exist. AR stands for Armalite. But anyway, we should have some kind of mental evaluation check, you know, before you can get your license. know, and there's plenty of ways that this can be accomplished. You know, you pay $50 or $100, you go see a mental health specialist, and you know, maybe meet with them 4 or 5 times, and then, you know, that mental health specialist whose whole job is to evaluate people's mental health can either sign off or not sign off. And then you have the right to go get your, you know, your license and everything to own a firearm. I think that would be a good idea. But an outright ban on weapons is ridiculous. It would not be successful in this country. It may be successful for other countries, but it wouldn't be successful in this one. And everybody goes back to this example of Australia, or they go back to this example of London, England. England. You know, but I would prefer a model more like Switzerland. Switzerland actually encourages their citizens to own firearms and to know how to properly use them. You know, if this had been a case of a 6-year-old getting a hold of a gun and accidentally shooting himself, you know, it would still be the same story. Let's ban all guns. And I understand the knee-jerk reaction. However, in response to that, why wasn't the gun locked up? The gun should be locked up. Now, the extreme gun owners will tell you, oh, we can't lock the guns up because then, you know, how are you going to get to it? Bullshit. You can lock your gun up. It only takes a second to unlock that sumbitch and get your gun out, load it, chamber around, and freaking kill the guy that's breaking into your house. It doesn't take that long. The key here is education. Educating people in safe handling of weapons. How to use them, how to keep them clean, how to keep them safe. You know, you can set things up in your house to where your child is not going to have access to your weapon and accidentally shoot themselves. It's possible. People do it all the time. Now, as far as this Florida situation goes, the young man legally purchased an assault rifle. I almost fucked up there. Almost called it an assault rifle. An AR-15. Because you can't legally buy handguns in Florida. Which is funny because there's plenty of handguns in Florida. You just can't legally purchase them there. It's very peculiar. I think Florida gun laws have done this to themselves in that respect. And if I'm remembering right, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first instance of a school shooting actually using an AR-15. Always in the past has been handguns. The simple fact of the matter is we need some kind of mental evaluation for people before they buy firearms. Because you should be mentally stable before you buy a weapon. Now, this kid, Mr. Cruz, actually posted on YouTube saying, I'm going to be a professional school shooter. To me, that sounds like a threat. Now, according to FBI analysts, people outside the FBI that analyzed, the whole situation, there's a difference between saying I'm going to be a professional school shooter and saying this Friday I'm going to go shoot up Wilson High School. If they have an actual viable threat like that, then they can take action. But such a general statement, that's covered by freedom of speech. I get that, but at the same time, it's kind of fucked up. I think the FBI could have stopped this kid if they'd have just dug a little deeper. Now, I don't know what the rules and guidelines are for the FBI. I've been told the book is this thick. So I really can't say there, but I'm not blaming the FBI. I'm not blaming guns at all. The blame is obviously number one on Mr. Cruz. And then by extension, I think the blame is on the fact that we don't have mental health evaluations for gun ownership. Going a step further, I think the blame is on the family that he was staying with, because they didn't notice anything untoward. How could they not notice it? Someone wants to shoot up a school, and I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know the whole situation. Obviously, the only people that were there were Mr. Cruz and the family that he was staying with. It's just very bewildering to me. Now, I'm not saying the family pulled the trigger, but there was something there, and they missed it. It's an unfortunate circumstance. But this kid was obviously disturbed by some measure. And we need to look and find out why, so that we know what to look for in the future. This kid was 19. He had his whole future still ahead of him. And now he's either going to rot in jail the rest of his life, or he's going to get the death penalty, which I don't know if they have the death penalty in Florida. They probably don't. So, there goes 18 lives. Does the guy deserve to die? Yeah, he shot up a school and killed 17 people. Of course. Not arguing that. But it's an unfortunate tragedy, and it's probably avoidable. But the knee-jerk reaction, ban all guns, it's not going to be successful. Aside from the fact that maybe we need some kind of mental health evaluation in order to get a license, you're still going to have criminals who own guns illegally. Criminals don't care about the law. This notion that criminals will stop using illegal guns when guns are illegal, no, that's ridiculous. Now let's go a little deeper into this whole thing about guns. You've got, bump stocks. They're trying to ban bump stocks. Okay, that's fine. I don't give a shit. There's no need for a bump stock. High capacity magazines. I kind of get that, but if it depends on how you define high capacity. If the magazine holds 26 rounds, that's not high capacity. If the magazine holds 100 rounds, yeah, that's high capacity. Nobody needs 100 rounds to go deer hunting. So that's fine. I get that. But what it boils down to, all of it, is that guns are tools. Just like a hammer, just like a shovel, just like a paintbrush. A pencil. You could take a pencil and stab someone in the eye and kill them. Do we need to ban pencils? No. Now, I realize that's an extreme example, but still. I hope you see my point. And again, this is coming from a guy who's not a big fan of guns. I don't particularly care for them. I think they're fun to go to the range and shoot. And if someone breaks into my house, I will pull my gun out and shoot them. But I don't want to go walking around just with a gun on my hip and, you know, Wild West style. That's just silly. You know, it's not like that. I don't know. I hate how the left and the celebrity community and the liberals and the Democrats, I hate how they automatically, every single time something like this happens, something tragic, instead of focusing on let's do what we can to counsel those kids that witnessed their friends being murdered. Let's do stuff to counsel those parents who lost their families, you know, who lost their kids or whatever, you know. Counsel those kids who lost their parents, too. I believe there was a coach that was killed in this whole situation. You know, let's focus on them instead of, oh, we got to ban all guns now. No, that's not the answer. That never has been the answer. You know, every school that I've ever gone to as an adult for one of my kids, they've got a little buzzer. You got to press the button, talk to somebody, and then they unlock the door for you. And it's kind of a one in, one out system. You know, as soon as that door closes, it's locked again. Did this school in Florida not have a situation like that? Because, I'm sorry, this kid had a rifle and a big black duffel bag. Did they not notice that? You know, so let's rework this a little bit. Number one, Mr. Cruz is at fault. Number two, mental health evaluations were at fault. Number three, that school is at fault for letting that kid in the fucking door. And then number four, the family. How did he get into the school? I don't get it. Now, I covered it all, I think. But it's just ridiculous. So many factors had to come into play for this to actually occur. And there were so many signs. His YouTube post, the fact that he bought a gun not long after his mother passed away. You know, the family should have noticed something weird. The school should not have let him in the door. If they don't have magnetic locks, electronic locks, whatever, that's on the school. The school should have had electronic locks. There should have been security guards. Not necessarily armed security guards, not even necessarily security guards. I'm just talking faculty roaming the halls with radios, like, hey, call 911, you know, whatever. And that's at a bare minimum. Personally, with my kids being in public school, I would like there to be armed security guards. People that are trained and vetted and everything. You know, and if you have a problem with having actual security guards, have a cop come in. There are plenty of schools that have cops show up, and at random times, you know, and they patrol. That's what they do. I don't know. There's other solutions though. Banning guns is not going to do it. Toodles.